Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys from Africa, you know we love the Big C tribe. We love you in Canada. But Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going on a beautiful March 6, 2018, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm thinking of getting all choked up from all the love that we're getting from all these other countries from around the world, because that's the only thing that I can feel warm about, because the weather down here is freezing.
Yeah, I tell you, you good old boys down south. But the good thing, you know, God loves the South so much, he makes it freeze so the fish can't swim as fast, makes it easy to catch. Your thoughts?
They kind of like that cool water stuff, and they get a little more active when the water's cool versus when it's hot. You know, they're trying to find a shade for you to get under.
Yeah, I know. It's not fair. You guys fish with a net. Out here, the good old boys fish with the fishing pole and a reel.
You can't, Charlton, you can't be making that known, you know, to the public.
Oh, okay.
Because they have this thing called fish and game wardens.
Okay.
And they do come out. They like for you to buy license.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Hey, Big C, just deny it like Sanders and Trump. Deny it, man. All them good old boys. I do want to say today's a beautiful day, and today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So much going on in the world of sports. We have things going on that I'm really respect Kevin Love for some of the statements he made about going through some issues. And we have the NBA talking about that. Of course, Beanie Wells dealing with some issues also. A former Arizona running back at the NFL and also played at Ohio State back in the day. Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl, becoming MVP is not good enough, Big C. I also want to thank Nike. You know, Nike's using the Earth logo. They think they got to go out to space to see Big C Sports, Big C. They got the Earth logo with the Nike shoes. I said, I wonder where they found that out. And also, we talk about Canelo, said he ate some bad meat, Big C. Okay, he ate some bad meat. But Deontay Wilder is 40-0 with 39 knockouts. That brother's doing it. Big C, I want to start off in the White House. You know, we love our country. We're in the land of the free, and we're in the home of the brave. And I know every time we talk about politics and sports, you know, it all ties together. It's all one big happy family, Big C. But I look at my friend, I should say your friend in the White House, Donald Trump. It seems like with all this investigations going on, more and more people are starting to step down. Now, his top economic advisor, you know, Gary Cohn, resigned last evening. And, I mean, Donald Trump is acting like he wanted him to resign. If he's your top guy, why you want your top guy to step down, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, as this investigation continues on and people are starting to exit the White House of their own volition, and well, basically everybody has done that.
Yeah.
I don't think they fired anybody. I think everybody just walked away.
Yeah.
And when you have the top economic advisor departing the White House after you talk about putting sanctions and tariffs on other countries, Charlton, and he had advised you against that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Trump's base understands. If you put a 20% tariff on steel and 10% on aluminum, doesn't that equate down the line that the manufacturer has to charge you more in America? I kind of think that. I'm not smart and I'm not an economist, but I think if you have to pay more for a product that you're bringing into, you know, as a wholesale product to retail it out, you generally have to take it out at a higher price.
Yeah.
That's just, I think we learned that in the second or third grade or something like that.
Well, I understand,
but, you know, and Gary Cohn, this is not the first time that he wanted to depart. He wanted to depart the White House after Charlottesville. Yeah. After the president said that the neo-Nazis and white supremacists were good people. Yeah. Because he's Jewish. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. And so he was offended straight up when the president said that the neo-Nazis were good people because he understands what has happened to his culture over time.
Well, President,
because of the actions of those people.
Well, President Trump never heard of Dachau and how Jewish people were burned in ovens, and the world turned its back for a long time before a lot of the countries in the United States stepped in and stopped that. So our thoughts are always about being conscious, and I want our country to succeed. But for everybody that wants to back somebody who was a TV guy, who has a woman that he paid $130,000 to for whatever your woman charges $130,000, you could buy a house for $130,000. I don't know, man. I guess the cost of real estate. I thought when they said he paid $30,000, I thought, okay, that's a good price for a house, because out here you can't even get a garage for $130,000, Big V. But $130,000 in the Bay Area don't buy you much but a hello and a goodbye. But down there, whatever Trump paid for
I think that's what he paid for. Hello and goodbye.
Hey, that's a good one, Big C. Who's that good old boy? Robert Redford. He was in a movie with Demi Moore, and I think Woody Harrelson, that good old boy, was in it also. And it was called something about what would a woman do for $1 million? Indecent Proposal.
Yeah.
Indecent.
Down in Vegas, and Demi and Woody were married in that movie, and Robert Redford was a high roller.
Yeah.
He made a proposition at a crap table.
Yeah, and so Donald Trump got a better deal than him. He only paid $130,000. Big C. Woody's good old boy Robert Redford paid $1 million. So Big C, I just think all fair is in love and war. So no matter who you like, you love who you want. But I really feel bad, for the First Lady, because we talk about so many things that go on in the world of the universe, and all of the times that athletes. We talk about Alden Smith, held responsible for it. We talk about that good old boy Ray Rice back in the day when he did that horrible thing to his wife. Now, I don't agree with what Ray Rice did. Of course, I abhor what he did. I wouldn't want someone doing that to someone I love. But the man has a tone, and he's gone through some counseling to get some help. That's what people should do. Big C, Trump, and them good old boys, they haven't gone through any counseling. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he goes through deep pocket counseling, Charles. He's on that level of what can I afford.
Yeah.
He's on that rental basis.
Yeah.
I don't mind dropping 6 figures for a date.
Yeah.
It's okay in my world.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done. But, as you spoke about the First Lady, the embarrassment that she must live under.
Yeah.
Daily. And I mean, even the rest of the Republican wives.
Yeah.
Who have to look at this scenario and say, wow. This is the leadership of our country.
Yep.
And, instead of talking about positive things all the time, it's always what's next negative in his life. And it's always a deflector. And, you speak about what occurred at the White House today with the resignation of Gary Cohn.
Yeah.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago that we had this incident down in Florida, Charlton, at the high school.
Yep.
And there was great talk about gun,
control
laws in the United States, talking about resolutions and altering what was there and making it more difficult. There hasn't been any talk in the past week about gun reform in the White House.
Have you noticed that?
It's a dead issue now.
Yep.
It is a dead issue now, and we spoke about that this would last a week, 10 days, that there'll be a lot of emotion from politicians, saying that we needed reform. But also, here it is a week later, that there's no issues about reform any longer.
Yeah.
It's over with.
Yeah.
It's almost like after they buried the children, it's like we're done with this issue.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yep. I tell you, I know that we have such conversations. I was talking to a lady today, just out and about doing some things at the post office. And she's from Florida. I think she's from the Jacksonville area. I'm not going to mention her name. We just met in passing. And she told me, we just had a conversation about when she said she's from Florida. I said, well, how far are you from where, the disaster took place? It's a terrorist attack, really. I know people don't want to call it that. But she said, well, she's in Jacksonville. That's far away from where it was. But she said she carries a gun. And so I didn't want to say anything bad, about my opinion about Trump or anything. She's from Florida and carries a gun. And this young Caucasian woman, maybe 35 years old, has 2 kids, one in high school and, one in elementary school. Now, sometimes I think I'm crazy because, people tell me I'm crazy sometimes saying things that are off the wall. But I Google a lot. But here's a young woman that says that she carries a gun, but in Florida you can't have it shown, but she says she has it on her hip. I'll bring up one more point, Big C.
Carry and conceal.
Carry and conceal.
That's the law in a lot of southern states, Charlton.
Yeah.
A lot of Jim Crow states have that carry and conceal. You can go into a church, you can go into a bar. Now think about this. You can walk into a bar carrying a concealed weapon where you can consume copious amounts of alcohol.
Yeah.
And we know what happens emotionally when you drink a lot.
Yeah. Yep, that's true what she brought up. And the chilling thing that she brought up to me, Big C, is we were talking about that. And she said, she went into school to get her kids for something, and she said she walks in with a gun in her purse, and nobody knows because she's white and nobody checks her out. Now, I'm not saying that's because she's white. I'm just saying she happened to be Caucasian, blonde hair, blue eyes, and here she is walking into a school with a pistol to pick up her kids. And I said, well, why would you need a pistol to pick up your kids in school? Not trying to make her upset, you know? I know the Trayvon Martin thing that went down. I'm not being flippant about that. And she said, because I want to feel safe. Now, if a young Caucasian woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, nobody looks at them, nobody second guesses them. That's what America's built up as an image. Okay, that's the prodigal image. You can Google that. But she can walk into a school with a gun and no one even knows. Big C, that make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the unsafe nature of America. Is because when you use an automatic handgun or rifle, there's collateral damage, okay?
Yeah.
There's nobody sitting there shooting at a steel target, okay? And if people are crossing in back of you or in front of you or on the side of you, somebody is going to get hit, okay? Not just the person or individual or whatever you're aiming at.
Yeah.
But there's going to be innocent bystanders that are hit. These bullets have no name, no direction once they leave a gun.
No.
And they will go through a person. So they will go clean through a person and still damage somebody else.
Yeah.
And so to have parents being able to walk into a school,
elementary school,
we know how unstable people are, Charles. We just had in Georgia last week, where they had the teacher that locked himself into his classroom and started firing his weapon.
Wow, yeah.
So, you know, when Trump is talking about arming teachers, and there's people that are mentally unstable all the time.
Yep.
And because you're licensed to carry a concealed gun doesn't mean that you're mentally stable.
Yeah.
That you have problems. But the biggest problem in life, we just had a mayor of Memphis resign.
Yeah.
Okay? She resigned because she had been stealing money and having an affair with her bodyguard, who was a police officer.
Yeah.
They were both married, so she pleaded guilty today and resigned.
Yeah.
Now, this is an elected official. Both are jumping. They're cheating, they're deviants, and to say that these people in a pinch won't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay? Here it is that they're both cheating on their spouses. She's stealing government money.
Yeah.
And so they're willing to do anything.
Yeah.
So if somebody's catching them and only one person knows, who knows what they will do?
Yeah.
But to send armed parents into schools and saying that that's legal, you know, it's just like the 13-year-old, the same week that the shooting took place in Florida, who walked into a school and had an AR-57 himself, and instead of firing on the rest of the student body, unfortunately, he committed suicide. And I say that in two ways, because it was a fortunate and unfortunate thing that a young person lost his life. But he had accessibility to this gun. He was 13 years old. So his dad was reckless and careless, okay, his parents. His parents should be charged in his death.
Yeah. Because
he left this ammunition and arsenal of firearms available for this kid to go commit a crime with. And yet, there's nothing that will happen in this situation, Charles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so until we hold the parents accountable in every capacity, get rid of this Second Amendment BS talking about, well, the right to bear arms to protect yourself.
Yeah.
The only people we see dying behind this stuff in droves are children.
Yeah.
And so are we considering children wild game now as far as the Second Amendment is concerned?
I tell you, Big C, it's chilling when you're standing next to someone and she says she had a concealed gun in Florida. I don't know if she had it on her now, but I know she had it there, and it made me show her a lot more respect. And I was getting ready to ask her, how could she approve of that when you have young kids and all kind of things. I just hope that President Trump, with everything that's going on and people running away from him, trying to get out of the White House because they know it's about to go down. We've known this is coming for a long time. Sometimes if you ever watch
Charles, didn't you guys have this road rage thing out there in California several years ago?
Yeah, it's true.
Where people were driving down the freeway and someone cut them off. Next thing you know, they're firing rounds into someone's car.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen several children, killed behind that with road rage. Somebody firing into a car that they felt cut them off, and they've shot children in the back seat, driving with someone. I mean, we've seen people shooting at cars from overpasses. I know Arizona had a thing last year where several people had been shooting, at cars going down the road. And I know several years ago in Washington, D.C., where they had a shooter going around, shooting pedestrians in parking lots, from the trunk of a car with a long rifle before they were caught. So when we sit up and we see all these incidents, and I know people go out and hunt. It's really big down here in the South, and it's a way of life. But let's hone it down to the type of artillery you need. A shotgun, a 30-06 bolt action, maximum 6-bullet capacity clip. You don't need 100-bullet capacity clip.
No, you don't.
And because our kids are the ones that are suffering, our grandkids are the ones that are suffering. And at some point, it has to be more than political. The NRA and Washington has to think of life as being more than just political.
Yeah, they have to, Big C. So when you think about it, you just respect people and don't try to get in someone's face, because that's the last thing I expected to hear. Big C, I do want to talk about something in the world. Is the fight business. We know Canelo had the suspension, or whatever they're going to do with him. I don't know. There's too much money to suspend them.
No, it's not going to be a suspension.
No, there's
and it even came back from that test that they took. They hate to taint it. The lab said it's a possibility because several athletes from Mexico have eaten meat from that same facility and tested the same. So who knows who's ingesting what? I mean, when you look at the money that's going to be made off this fight from both sides, the fighters as well as the books and Vegas, this fight is going to go on.
It's going to happen because money talks. Speaking of fighting, Big D, I got to tell you, this gentleman, Deontay Wilder, he's 32 years old. He's 40-0. He has 39 knockouts. He beat up Luis Ortiz just over the weekend. I think we can call him the #1 fighter in the universe. I know he had Floyd Money Mayweather, and we had the Conor McGregor fiasco, that staged event that went on down in Las Vegas, and Mayweather told me it's gonna end in 9. It actually was stopped in 10, but he says it's gonna end in 9. And we know things are staged, okay? That is what it is. But nearly 50 years ago, the great Joe Frazier, the unbeaten heavyweight champion, decided to take a detour in a big money rematch against Muhammad Ali. He went against that and decided to go to Kingston, Jamaica, where he thought he'd have an easy payday against George Foreman. And he thought he was fighting George Foreman in the future, the guy with the George Foreman grill that weighs about 350. I won't say that in front of George. I love the George Foreman grill. It's some of the best meat I ever had, Big C. I actually met George Foreman back in the day when he was getting ready to fight Ali. He was training at a gym in Hayward, California. And I was taken down there with my brothers, and we watched George Foreman, and he was just a hawking man. But we thought Joe Frazier must have been on that moonshine heavily, Big C, because he took a detour from Ali to go fight him. How much money and how much fame do we still think about a fight that happened 50 years ago when George and Ali were the biggest things? I mean, Joe Frazier and Ali were the biggest thing out there. How would you rate, we talked about it the other day when you did the Wilt Chamberlain and how would he stack up against some of the best basketball players right now in the NBA universe? And you said no one could handle Wilt because, he was getting what they were getting by halftime. Harden averaged 31, Wilt averaged 50. Wilt had them at halftime. What would Deontay Wilder have done against Ali, Frazier, and Foreman back in the day, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think of the knockout power of Wilder. That's the wow factor right there. I mean, here's a guy with 39 knockouts.
Yeah.
As a heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
And he really has no equals in the game today.
Yeah.
But when you look at the guys back then, no one had that knockout power, even Tyson. Tyson never had that knockout power. Foreman didn't have that knockout power. You know, Rocky Marciano did not have it, Charlton.
Yeah.
Larry Holmes, Ali. So when you think about what he has done, Charlton, in walking through the heavyweight ranks, and unfortunately, boxing doesn't have the glamour that it had 20 and 30 years ago because of the MMA.
Yeah.
Because of that high-impact action of the MMA.
Yeah.
But this is a young man, when you think about the history of the heavyweight boxing game, Charlton, ranks right up there with all of the greats as far as his productivity in the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, he is unparalleled as far as his power. And it's unfortunate that the world is not seeing it because, you know, everybody saw, you know, the fight with Mayweather and McGregor.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of tarnished boxing to a degree. And we're going to see Canelo and Triple G to see if there's any luster left in boxing.
Yeah.
And you know, Whittaker, I mean, is somebody that we should have seen on television.
Yeah.
You know, I know back in the days when I was growing up, and Wide World of Sports would always have on the big fights, Charlton, and then all of a sudden, pay-per-view came along, but Ali brought that into play with Zaire, with Foreman.
Yeah.
He created that pay-per-view gate.
Yeah.
And boxing hasn't been the same for the layman citizens since then. I know NBC will have Fight Night periodically. ESPN has some fights on periodically.
Yeah.
But the big fights, we don't get to see. So the world was robbed of this over the weekend, of seeing a heavyweight champion that's undefeated, that has the all-time knockout record for boxers.
Yeah.
And we don't get a chance to see that.
You know, the amazing thing you bring up about that, Big C, when he fought at the Barclays Center and took out Luis Ortiz, there's about 15,000 fans that showed up to see that fight. 15,000. Well, when these good old boys fight the IBF and the WBA titles in England, in Great Britain, Big C, they draw over 80,000. Think about that. When they're down fighting in Las Vegas, they may sell it out around 16,000, 17,000, depending on how they want to, you know, set the stage up. But 80,000, that's what you have in an NFL football stadium. And when you think about the fight business, I mean, it's just a fact in my opinion. If this was like a white guy, maybe a Marciano effect that could pack 80,000 fans into a stadium, I think American TV enthusiasts, the boxing enthusiasts, who's that good old boy? I really like him. He does a lot of fights down in Las Vegas. Teddy Sunland, I think is his name. Excellent guy. I would think this guy, if you want to connect the universe of fighters, Wilder has to be one of the guys that you can put a lot of money behind and really help boxing compete against the MMA, even if it's just to see a knockout in the first 2 or 3 rounds. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, you've seen the fiasco that's already been there.
Yeah.
It's a different set of professional skills when you put the MMA versus boxing.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at guys that are used to grappling, kicking.
Yeah.
They don't know how to stay stable and just sit there and throw punches. They're not built for that, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so it's just two different worlds. You know, it's like saying football is football. No, we have American football, we have European football.
Yeah.
Soccer and football don't mix.
Yeah.
Okay, it's two different sports.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you think about training yourself for either one of those, that's what you specifically train for.
Yeah.
But to have a heavyweight champion in boxing, you know, you have guys that are not the speediest of men in the world.
Yeah.
And they're tacticians. You're trying to pick your spot.
Yeah.
Is what you're looking to do. You're not just looking to be out there going all out like a heavyweight in the MMA, where, you know, if you're a little tired, you might kick the guy's legs from underneath him.
Yeah.
You might grab him and try to choke him out.
Yeah.
So, but boxing is a particular skill set that when you talk about the Europeans, where they pack stadiums, 60, 70,000.
Yeah.
Because it's always considered a gentleman's sport.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, duels were originally started through boxing.
Yeah.
Is that you would go out and box for honor.
Yeah.
And so it's that long written standard of professionalism and a gentleman's game that boxing in Europe, it will always have its luster.
Yeah. always will have. And we think of the great gentleman Lennox Lewis and how he brought, the fight world attention. They've been fighting in Europe for a long time, a lot longer than they've been fighting in the United States. But sometimes there's a little, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about this guy in case I happen to run into him someday, but Evander Holyfield, we know how good he was in the ring. But he says that Wilder doesn't have, he said he's not a classy fighter, and he looks a little bit undisciplined, and that all he has is a knockout punch. He doesn't have the boxing skills. Now, Wilder's 6'7", 215 pounds. He's from your neck of the woods, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he didn't think about the NBA or the NFL too much. But he started turning to boxing because the pay would help pay for his medical bills. His daughter was born with a medical issue, and he found boxing as a way to help pay for it. But Big C, I think that he's the guy that may have found Julio Jones' earring, but Julio Jones is not going to question him about, are you going to turn my earring? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at Evander was fortunate enough to come up through the boxing world, of amateur boxing and be able to perform in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And even as a professional, he was a blown up light heavyweight fighting in the heavyweight ranks.
Yeah.
And so, I think he might have tested positive for the same stuff that Canelo's tested
same meat.
for.
Yep.
He just got away with it. Evander got big in a hurry and didn't gain any fat. Like we saw with George Foreman and Buster Douglas and other heavyweights as they got larger.
Yeah.
But, it's an era thing when we sit there and we think about athletes always criticizing other athletes.
Yeah.
Evander was in the ring.
Yeah.
He was never able to achieve 39 knockouts.
No.
And so to sit there and say that somebody's unpolished, you only have to ask the guy who was trying to get up off the mat that's been knocked down. I always thought that's the best athlete in that scenario. The guy who's sitting there and forget what day it is. Okay? I don't know. I can't see. My eyes are closed.
That's funny.
That's the best guy to do an analogy on a boxer to find out whether he's awkward or doesn't have the power or stamina. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell some retired guy to evaluate him and you can't put a sentence together.
That's funny, Big. Well, I'll tell you, anyone 39-0, I don't care if he's clumsy or unorthodox or not. He had, 39 of his fights, the guy was laying on the ground when it was over. Okay, there was no bad call. They didn't have to question the judges. The guy was taking a nap when he finished with that fight. So I've always thought that's a big, statement teller when the guy is laying on the ground. So anyway, no matter what happens with MMA and then boxing, I think if they really want to tie a boxing MMA event together and start having outdoor fights the way they do in Great Britain and the way they even do down in Australia when Manny Pacquiao went over there and got robbed, Big C, in front of over 60,000. If they could put Cyborg and have Cyborg fight and also have Wilder
what
fight.
Man is she gonna fight? Though?
Well,
this goes back to Martina Navratilova.
Yeah.
When she was playing tennis.
Yeah.
Chrissy Evans said, "Yeah, she's beating all the women, but I like to see how she do against men." And that's what we had with Cyborg.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a woman that's gonna beat her.
No.
So you got to figure out what man she's gonna fight, what weight class.
Hey, I just told you, Big Z, we're gonna promote Wilder and Cyborg in the fight. It is all fair and love and war, so we're not. And she might beat him, Big C. Would that be crazy if she beat him, Big C?
But what guy would put himself in that position? I mean, you're sitting around, it's just like down in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
The female wrestling champ down the state of Texas, she's won back-to-back years.
Yeah.
But she's going through a gender alteration.
Yeah.
She still has to wrestle as a female, even though she's been taking hormones for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
She wants to wrestle in college as a male. She figures by the time she gets to college, that she will have gone through the gender transformation at that time. But, you got guys, they say that the boys don't want to wrestle her.
Right.
The girls are mad because she's taking the hormones, so it gives her an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
She hasn't lost a wrestling match in 2 years.
No.
And so, I mean, there's a question, there's a thin line right there of who is wrestling.
Yeah.
Because of the hormones that she's taking, it gives her a great strength advantage.
Well, yeah.
And that's been some of the questions that's been brought up about Cyborg.
Yeah.
Is she, genetically altered in some type of way? Because she's a beast. I mean, the real beast. I mean, she walk in the room, I'll leave. I'm not going to fight. I'm just leaving the room.
Well,
these are the things we look at when we talk about cross-referencing sports.
Yeah.
The MMA, no one is, there's allegedly that they're testing for banned substance.
Yeah.
Seems like only 1 or 2 fighters come up with it all the time.
Yep.
The rest of them always clean.
Yeah.
And you look at these guys, and you're talking about chisels.
Yeah.
I've seen Granny Stones that look at some of these things.
You go to that's a good point, Big C. We know it's all fair, love, and war. I think what boxing's missing, they're missing someone like one of the guys that's not really appreciated anymore for how much money he stole from people. I mean, made people, Big C, is the great Don King. I mean, he stole more money from fighters than fighters make. But he did make the money in order to steal it. He had to make it. That's what Don King stuff was. And a lot of fighters that I've knew that had Don King promoting their fight, he gave them 2 contracts. One's for the guys that are smart enough to have a lawyer go through it, and the other guy's for the guys that are dumb and trusted him, Big C. But fighting does miss someone like Don King, because right now, a guy that's 40 wins, 40-0, and he's also 39-0, cannot get the same kind of publicity that MMA fighters get when they're like 19-5 or 17-3. It doesn't make any sense for the world of boxing. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We go through Ben and Mark. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you at 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, I want to bring up a thought with the NBA. And I know we have so much movement going on in the Eastern Conference, Western Conference. I really love the segment you did on the great Wilt Chamberlain and how other guys that we consider the best in the universe today don't even do half of what Wilt did without a 3-point line. I'm hearing more stations in Northern California making that same comparison about a week later. I got to bring up what Kevin Love has done with coming out with a statement about some health issues and some anxiety issues. This is a day where a lot of grown men, athletic, physical, like you say, chiseled guys with egos and money in the bank, that FU kind of money you guys talk about down south, for him to show a vulnerability and tackle a serious issue, I applaud him, because gone are the days the guys are told be tough and shut up and just play. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's something that's always been hidden in sports. I mean, that macho persona that sports has always possessed. And there's been players over the decades, Charlton, that have exhibited this, but they kept it quiet.
Yeah.
To have an emotional disorder, as people want to call it. But human beings are fragile, regardless of what they're doing. They're fragile. I mean, we saw that with Paxton Lynch last football season, crying on the bench in Denver.
Yeah.
And no one knows what that's from.
Yeah.
Could have been an anxiety attack that he was going through, but instead it was looked at, well, he's just crying on the sideline.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with Kevin Love. He burst out of the locker room because he was having an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And his teammates didn't understand what was going on, but he opened up about it.
Yeah.
But what allowed Kevin Love to open up about this a week ago, DeMar DeRozan in Toronto, the guard, the all-star guard up there, came out saying that he's battled depression.
Yeah.
Most of his adult life that he's battled depression. And as you said, you're this tough, rich guy with all this money.
Yeah.
How can anything be wrong with you? How can you have a problem?
He's human.
They're people. They have emotions. We're all wired the same as human beings.
Yeah.
And sometimes, because athletes have this tough guy image that nothing can ever bother them.
Yeah.
Athletes are probably the most vulnerable of all people. When you look at the emotion swing that you have to go through, think about trying to make a team.
Yeah.
Getting released from a team, knowing that you're on the bubble.
Yeah.
Various stages that athletes go through when you're in college. You're not performing up to the level that you thought you were supposed to perform, and then all of a sudden you got a coach talking about your scholarship.
Yeah.
You get these young men and women that you bring in, you promise them playing time, that you're going to be a star, you're going to be a starter.
Yep.
Next thing you know, they're leaving that university, Charlton, because that promise wasn't kept to them, they thought emotionally that was promised to them.
Yeah.
And so this bothers a lot of athletes. When you think about basketball players last year in college basketball, Charlton,
yeah.
When you think of all the universities, there were well over 800 players who transferred.
Wow.
800, think about that. Well over 800 players who transferred.
Yeah.
And that was an emotional thing that was brought into play on that, Charlton.
Yeah. I think
that's the reason why they transferred, because their emotions weren't strong enough to keep them in the position that they had originally been recruited to.
That's a good point. Good point.
What type of breakdown did they go through that forced them to walk out of the scenario that they were in?
Yep. And so that Laura Ingham, when she says shut up and dribble, see, we talked about it before, and I'm proud of every, athlete, black and white, don't matter what color you are, as long as you're trying to do something to benefit the next generation. But we've always said, Big C, in fact, you brought it up first. I got this from you. You've always said that athletes in sports will bridge our society together faster than politics and definitely faster than religion. And to have someone like Kevin Love, who was an All-American player at UCLA, he was a one and done, but he did great. He grew up in Oregon, went to school, I think he was teammates with Thompson over with the Golden
Thompson. They grew up since childhood playing Pop Warner baseball, for football and Little League baseball, all these things together.
Yeah, and so when you think about it, athletes are bringing to the forefront something that middle America deals with. People in the inner city deal with that same depression. Oftentimes when there's black Americans dealing with that, they say, oh, they're just lazy, or they're making excuses. They should go to jail for whatever, because maybe they'll try to medicate themselves to deal with the depression and the anxiety. Guys like Rush Limbaugh, they'll do the Oxycontin and nothing happens to them. We know that. They'll get back on the radio and they'll get paid millions. But Kevin Love has done something that's going to be so great for young people all over the sports world and all over mainstream to say, if Kevin, two things, if he can do it and still play NBA basketball, but he's man enough to talk about it, now that lets other people dealing with issues not to be afraid. They should come forward and get some kind of medical help. Big C, that make any sense?
Oh, it does, Charlton. When you bring these alleged strongest people in America together with just common people in the world to show that these problems are far outreaching.
Yep.
That is not just limited to those who lack resources, Charlton.
Yeah.
It just shows how problematic this is in American society.
Yeah.
And when we get athletes that everybody reveres speaking out.
Yep.
So the common people, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And our politicians won't address these issues.
No.
They say, well, we need to lock them up, as the president said. We got to bring back these institutions and put them in.
Yeah.
So what if Kevin Love was in an institution and he couldn't come out and speak to young people about them having the same type of anxiety attacks that he had?
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan not being able to come out and address these issues. People, you think about the population of Canada, and I think with DeMar DeRozan speaking up, it will give a lot of, break against how you butchering the national anthem. They help him out.
I'm trying to bring him out of that, Big C, out of the depression.
but we got DeRozan thinking out, and this is representing the entire country.
Yeah.
And we think about all the people who follow the professional teams up there. You got the Blue Jays and you have the Raptors.
Yeah.
And so, you think about all the young people that follow that, and even the Maple Leafs, because when they were in the playoffs last year, and you think about all the people that were outside the arena watching the game.
Yep.
This is how far-reaching athletics are into society.
Yeah.
That people decide how they're going to face their day based on how athletes have performed the night before, the day before.
Yeah.
And here DeRozan speaking up in behalf of himself and other people with these particular issues of anxiety.
Yep.
How important is that? As far as through the spectrum of America, when our politicians won't address these issues.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's this hidden thing. Let's go tuck this person away in some facility and forget about them. Instead of seeking help.
I agree.
And DeRozan is like, I'm trying to help because I'm a spokesperson, because I'm an NBA player.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that they're not alone.
Yep.
That I'm as much of an American as an athlete and a Canadian as anybody who has suffered through these issues.
Yeah, I'm really proud of DeRozan. And I think about, we sing Old Canada, because I really love how Canada takes care of their medical issues with people with free health care, and we can't figure it out just south of the border. That doesn't make any sense at all to me. And I appreciate athletes doing it. We have black and white doing this. See, this is why the sports world is so powerful. And so congratulations to those guys. Get your help and keep balling, okay? Because you're good enough to do it. Just get the help and let the young kids going through it. And Middle America, it's okay to seek help. That's what smart people do. You get help. Also, in the NFL, Beanie Wells, former running back, Arizona Cardinals, All-American at Ohio State back in 2009, back in the day. He's mentioned that he's suffering with some issues or symptoms of CTE. I'm glad that people are talking about this so they can get some help for it, Big C. It's football players. We have basketball players. We don't have boxers coming out yet talking about it because there's still this macho stigma. I'm a macho guy, even though a lot of guys are punch drunk and you could tell when they talk. And I wonder what's going to happen to the world of the MMA when guys hit 40 and 50 years old and they begin kicked and elbowed in the face. And I just know that's coming because they're human too, Big C. Your thoughts on what Beanie Wells has talked about, Big C?
Well, Charlton, we look at Beanie Wells. Beanie Wells is 30 years old, Charlton. We're not talking about an ancient person.
Yeah.
He's 30 years old. Played running back at Ohio State, #1 draft pick of the Arizona Cardinals back just 9 seasons ago, Charlton.
Yeah.
We just had the combine. 9 seasons ago, he was one of the top players coming out in the draft.
Yeah.
And now here it is. He's suffering memory loss, Charlton, already at 30 years of age.
Yeah.
And migraine headaches on a daily basis. And he's attributing this to his days of playing running back in college, high school, Pop Warner that we talked about,
yep,
and the NFL. But being 30 years of age and having these severe symptoms of early Alzheimer's,
yeah,
well, as we want to call it, CTE in football, but it's still Alzheimer's to the layman person.
Yeah.
This really has to be a wake-up call just throughout sports. And I think, what was it, Virginia that was banning youth football that they were trying to
Illinois,
do?
up in Illinois, the Dave Durson Act.
Illinois.
Yeah.
These are things that really have to be looked at. That you have a 30-year-old man that should be in the prime of his life.
Yeah.
He retired from the game, and here it is at 30 years of age. He's suffering the same symptoms that we see in a lot of our elderly at 70 and 80 and 90 years of age.
Yeah.
And so what does life have in store for him physically?
Yeah.
Especially over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, you got to understand, Beanie Wells is not old enough to get his NFL pension.
No.
Hopefully he has enough money left over from his playing days.
Yep.
But he does not qualify for the NFL medical coverage.
Wow.
Because he hasn't got the pension age yet.
That's incredible.
So
yeah.
These are one of the things that, is going to hinder him. And now that he has an existing condition,
yep,
Obamacare has been abolished, he can't get insurance.
Yeah.
If he does not have it already.
And a lot of people voted.
If he was to report this pre-existing condition, he could be denied.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, again, we have Trump. Trump has the money. He could spend $130,000 for some medical help or whatever the $130,000 went for. I think they go, what kind of relief do you get when you give $130,000?
I don't think it was an answer that he would get.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can't afford to pay $130,000 to relax, okay, or to get rid of some tension. But, the man did, and people still say, hey, he's our president and he speaks for us. What's that say about them that support that garbage, Big C? I want to throw also some thought and some realism, some real talk, something that's reasonable. That's what we need in the sports universe. Somebody who's reasonable. I look no further than out here on the West Coast. The great coach Steve Kerr, went to Arizona. I think a marvelous person, played with the Bulls. Imagine what he thought when Michael Jordan said, when I get the ball, they're going to collapse on me. I'm going to pitch it to you and you hit the three. Okay? Imagine the pressure that he felt. So when he sees what Curry's doing all the time, of course, it's like, it's nothing new. I was under the pressure from the best player in the universe, and he made his basket, okay? But Steve Kerr says something that's so reasonable, Big C, a lot like what you say. The players that want to go to the NBA, if they're one and done, don't stop them from going back and getting their education. We're supposed to help people, okay? If they don't make it, let them return to college and pursue their college career, and their education. Big C, I think that's reasonable. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's always been reasonable. But, it's this situation where you want to take away multiple opportunities, mainly from minority athletes.
Yeah.
Because generally they're the ones who declare early, whether it's NFL, NBA, Charlton.
Yeah.
And even in Major League Baseball, these kids get drafted out of high school. A lot of them continue on in college and just play another sport.
Yeah.
And get that baseball money. But to give a young man the opportunity to explore what's out there in the professional world, and if it doesn't work out, still keep his college eligibility.
Yeah.
You think about it. If somebody goes from Harvard, Yale, Stanford, MIT, and get a professional job,
yeah,
okay, while they're in college, one of those hedge companies come out and recruit them and stuff, so we need you.
Yeah.
You're still allowed to keep your college eligibility.
Yeah.
Where you can go back to school and still stay in college, where, we look at these young athletes and they say, okay, I want to test the water.
Yeah.
I want to go in, I want to declare for the draft.
Yep.
I'm not hiring an agent. And see, that's the thing, just like with Lamar Jackson, and hopefully he set a precedent.
Yeah.
Is that don't hire an agent. You don't need him. You know where you're slated. And they've always talked about the cerebralness of black quarterbacks.
Yeah.
This has to be the most intelligent player going into the draft.
Yeah.
Because he was the only one cerebral enough to say, I'll keep all of my money.
Yeah.
I can call the Players Association, and they tell me what the top 5 guys in my position make that are drafted in that round.
Yeah.
In that position.
Yeah.
I get that money automatically.
Yeah.
I don't need a guy to go say, I'm going to negotiate with a team to get you what you're guaranteed.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the cerebralness of a black quarterback, I mean, he set the table. But, to have these young players get this opportunity to say, okay, you don't lose your scholarship.
Yeah.
You get a chance to go out, compete in the combine, and see where you rank against everybody else.
Yeah.
Now, last year, Charlton, there were 48 underclassmen declared for the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
48. There's 60 players drafted in the NBA. That's the underclassmen. We're not talking about the seniors whose eligibility was up.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the 17 Europeans that were drafted, okay?
Yeah.
So when you get down to it, Charlton, there's very few opportunities. But to give that young man the opportunity to go out and test the water and say, okay, I wasn't good enough to be drafted.
Yeah.
And because they have these agents mislead them.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to be a number 1 draft pick. You're going to go in the first round. All of a sudden, these guys are drafted up, going to the draft center and stuff, Charlton, sitting there and, eating peanuts and pretzels.
Yep.
All night long because they're not getting drafted.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Tremendous idea by Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Adam Silver needs to get behind this.
He should.
As well as the NCAA, the crooked NCAA, as Donald Trump would say. You're making $20 billion off these guys.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to come back and play some more.
If Donald Trump thinks you're taking advantage of people, you're taking advantage of people, Big C, because you can't get a lot with $130,000. I still want to know what doctor's charging $130,000 for stress relief. I really got to find out who that doctor is. Because
there has to be a video.
It's coming out, Big Z.
Okay.
It's coming out.
In this day and age, if it's nothing but on his security camera, somebody's got to leak it.
If Hulk Hogan had an affair with his best friend's wife, and she had videotape, and got $100,000, $100,000 a lot more than no, she got 100. Did she get 100 million?
114 million.
114 million. Okay, I'm sure that girl, that doctor that Donald Trump gave 130,000 to, she can do math. She can Google it. How much more can you buy of whatever you want with 100 million than you can with 130,000? Big C, your thoughts?
Hey, I'm agreeing. Okay, I'm agreeing, and I'm looking for that opportunity. Right?
Yeah, I think she's going to wake up and realize when she can start to do math, take 100 million and put 130,000 next to it, and realize when that videotape is going to be released, it might be bigger than the Black Panther, Big Z. And Black Panther has set more records again, on pace to become a $1 billion movie in the first 30 some odd days, passing Beauty and the Beast, approaching $1 billion. And you know, they've always told us that the audience won't buy black actresses and actors, Big C. I think you can Google that. That movie is amazing. There's so many people that says it has so many messages.
It might be fake money that they're spending. You know, we haven't checked. You know, the box office, I don't know if they still had that little pin if they swipe the to see if they're authentic or not.
Yeah.
So maybe, in the words of the White House, this is fake money that's going across the counter.
Well, it definitely made more money than you know, Birth of a Nation and all that garbage back in the day. But I do appreciate all the people that come out and say, you know, whether they're going through something and how they're going to deal with it. You know, we touched on a lot of things, Big C. One of the things I'm really proud of, and I don't think sometimes they get enough credit, I want to just say thank you to all of the mothers out there and the fathers who do what it takes to get their kids to do better in life, whether it's a high school education, a college education. We talk so much about how people are put under pressure, and the average person doesn't have, you know, $100 million in the bank. And the average person is not going to be a famous celebrity where people care about them. We talked about the Oscars, talking about being more fair, more egalitarian, more diverse. And I'm proud of the people in this country that are saying do the right thing. But there are a lot of mothers and fathers who are also dealing with their own, you know, depressions and pressures of just raising a family. Big C, talk about how sports has always been something that they could also reach back and just get away from whatever anxiety that was plaguing them. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, talking for decades, parents have been able to go out and enjoy, you know, their children going out, you know, exhibiting great athletic ability on the playing field.
Yeah.
You know, we've always talked about Little League Baseball, Pop Warner football, you know, the AAU basketball and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But for these young men to be able to go out, these young ladies, volleyball, you know, softball, and have their parents there participating and show the family value.
Yep.
And how you appreciate each other. And that's one of the things that's lacking so much in America now, Charlton, is the family value.
Yeah.
When we sit around and we look at how society has changed so much over the years, and we have so many of these athletes out there that are out there participating without a parent watching.
Yep.
A lot of grandparents are raising these kids.
Yeah.
And they're out there searching for a future and identity.
Yeah.
Figuring the only way to get out of the hardship that they have is through athletics, and truly it has been for a lot of people.
A lot of people, yeah.
But I wish that everyone would understand, and I like Steve Kerr's rule so much.
Yeah.
Is that how many players are there in the NBA? When you look at it, less than 300, Charlton.
Yeah.
Less than 300 players in the less than 450. 450 players in the NBA.
Yeah.
And when you look at the injury list, practice roster, say 500 players are in the NBA.
Yeah.
500. We're looking at March Madness, which is going to have 68, 69 teams.
Yep.
In March Madness. That's just in March Madness. That's not talking about the NIT that gets another 42.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't make the NCAA tournament, you make the NIT tournament.
Yeah.
So everybody's playing.
Yeah.
And each one of these teams have 15 players that drop out.
Yep.
Do the math at 15 times 69.
Yeah.
That outnumbers the NBA.
Yeah.
So when these players got to be realistic about the opportunity to even get to the NBA.
Yeah.
And we had a tournament being played tonight, Charlton, where the team Cleveland State in the Horizon Conference.
Yeah.
They're playing in their conference final, Charlton. They won 12 regular season games.
Oh, 12 and 22.
12.
Yeah.
And they can make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But being realistic, how many players from Cleveland State have the ability to play in the NBA and you only win 12 regular season games?
Yeah.
You didn't even win one conference game.
Yep.
Yet you're playing for your conference championship tonight and can be in the NCAA tournament next week as an automatic bid.
And they're playing right, which is 24-9 for the Horizon Championship for the NCAA tournament. And it's a great opportunity. But I appreciate Coach Kerr. And that's the thing that I love about Conscientious Men. Now, I just got to bring this up because he's been able to be around a lot of, African Americans. And so, as a teammate, as a brother, okay, they may not have the same blood, but they have the same consciousness. He knows that a lot of the guys that he played with over the years, whether it's Arizona or whether it's with the Bulls or whether it's for San Antonio or now being at Golden State, every athlete has a family. Not everyone's like the Currys, where you have Dale Curry and you have Steph Curry and then his brother Seth. They all play NBA. There are a lot of people who have relatives that don't make it to pro ball. And they may not have the same golden parachute that some of these guys have. But you can still look out for them. And that's what we say, our white brethren. When we have our white brethren, stop hiding behind Harry Edwards. Don't just let it be Shaq Barkley or Big C Sports or Shaquille O'Neal or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. You know, don't listen to Oregon.
A perfect example of what you just said, Charles.
Yeah.
Go back to the retired great running back that played in the NFL, played at Florida State, played with Tampa Bay and Atlanta Falcons, Warrick Dunn.
Oh, yeah.
Warrick Dunn grew up in New Orleans without a father. His mother was a police officer. His mother was killed in the line of duty when he was in college.
Yeah.
So when you talk about an athlete that has nobody, everyone in his life was taken away from him. He never knew who his father was. His mother was a civil servant.
Yep.
Lost her life in the line of duty. But she had instilled, being driven in this young man.
Yeah.
To make something of yourself. Warrick Dunn went on to have a successful NFL career as a running back, first-round draft pick with Tampa Bay, finished up his career in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But he reached back and helped out single mothers, Charlton.
Yeah.
He made a promise that if he made it in the NFL, that he would reach back and make sure every year that a single mother received a home.
Yeah.
Through a foundation that he developed, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when they talk about African Americans not being a part, not having an understanding of a civil responsibility, they've always been in the forefront of leading the way.
You're right.
As far as civil change, social justice change, Charlton. And they've always been backlash for that, Charlton.
Yeah.
For trying to open up conscious awareness in the rest of society.
Yeah.
You think about it, if our political leaders had the wherewithal of a Warrick Dunn to say, we're going to go out and build these houses for single mothers.
Yeah.
Improve their opportunity for them and their children, because when you know where you're going to sleep every night, you know where you're going to eat every night, there's a sense of comfort.
Yeah.
And anybody who's listening to our show understands that. Whether they're in their car, whether they're at home.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to have some comfort tonight. If you have the ability to listen to our show, you're going to have some comfort in your life tonight. You're going to have a decent meal. You're going to have a warm bed to sleep in.
Yeah.
Not a child who's sleeping in a car trying to decide, is he going to be able to have something in the morning to eat?
Yeah.
And they're huddled up in a vehicle, 3 or 4 children along with their mother.
Yeah.
These things happen in America, the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
And so many of these athletes that we have out there, Charlton, that play on a professional level, a lot of them have come from that backdrop.
Yeah.
They don't acknowledge it, but a lot of them, because they don't want to be saying that, that they were embarrassed about their upbringing, but a lot have come from that.
Yeah.
Professional athletes today have been in that limelight, lack of limelight, where they had nothing.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm so glad that we acknowledge that. So again, DeRozan, Love, all the actors in Hollywood that are talking about making things better for the next generation. We don't have to wait for 50 years. Whether it's gun control issues, whatever it is, mental health, all of it. We love sports because it helps people focus on something. And sports will galvanize this society together even more than the church. Most churches are segregated as they're praying for some type of heaven. We can have heaven on earth if we just learn to look out for the people who have a need. And Big C, I love the fact that you're socially conscious, you're intelligent. I appreciate our white brethren for stepping up. It's always been black men that push for civil rights and equality. And Rosa Parks, refusing to give up her seat. John Lewis, the Epic Predators Bridge, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. So many people have fought for equality. I appreciate everyone who's not afraid to say what's good for the next generation. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, what I'm looking forward to in the sports university, the same thing I'm looking forward to in the education university. The teachers of West Virginia were able to reach a settlement today with the government and the governor.
Yeah.
Where they're going to be able to go back to school starting tomorrow and teach the youth. And in teaching the youth in West Virginia, Charlton, that means the youth sports programs, again, will start up. Baseball, basketball,
yeah,
football, track and field, all of those sports, golf, tennis, that the youth look forward to. And West Virginia has produced some of the greatest athletes, Charlton, that we've ever seen in America.
Yeah.
Think about an Allen Iverson, a Randy Moss.
Yep.
The logo in the NBA, Jerry West. They all come from West Virginia, Charlton.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that the government in West Virginia finally came to their senses, letting these teachers earn a decent living, because they don't get into it to get rich, Charlton.
No.
They get into it to enrich lives. That's what educators do. And I want to take my hats off to those teachers who stood fast about their conviction and got the settlement from the governor and the Senate there in West Virginia, and now these kids can move on with their lives as well as the teachers.
Big C, very well said. And we always thank you for following Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never any excuse for any man to ever hit a woman or any woman to hit a man. If you know anyone going through that garbage, please call 911, because no one should ever have to go through that garbage all on their own. And as we tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.